Hymenolepiasis by Dr. Hymenolepiasis. Hymenolepiasis is an parasitic intestinal infection by specific type of Hymenolepiasis species, which is a type of tapeworms parasite called Hymenolepiasis nana. It is also called the dwarf tapeworm. Hymenolepiasis nana is the commonest cystode infect children, and it is also the smallest cystode can infect men. But you have to pay attention that the smallest cystode whatsoever is the Echinococcus granulosus. However, this worm infect the adult stage is present only in dogs, and the man is infected by its larval stage only. Okay. Geographically, it is cosmopolitan or worldwide. However, the higher incidence is in the temperate or warm zones among children and in immunosuppressed individuals. The habitat of the adult worm is the small intestine of man. What is unique about this worm is that man acts as both definitive host and intermediate host. That's to say, the larval stage develops inside the body or inside the villi of the infected person with no need to an intermediate host, external intermediate host outside. Of course, the morphology, we start by the adult worm, the scolex. The scolex is rhomboidal or globular, provided with 4 suckers and a retractile rostellum. This rostellum is armed with 1 row of hooks. Following the scolex, a short neck and a strobella is formed of about 200 segments. The total length of the worm maximum from 40 to 45 millimeter, and the breadth or the thickness is maximum 1 millimeter. What about the segment? The segments are broader than longer with lateral genital pore. The ova or the eggs follow the main character of cystode eggs. That's to say, the 3 fixed features, they are rounded, small in size, and excreted mature from the adult worm. What is the specific features of Hymenolepiasis nana egg is that it is covered with a thin, transparent outer shell, and the oncosphere is surrounded with the embryophore, and between the outer shell and the embryophore there are 2 polar thickness from which from 4 to 8 filaments run in the space between the embryophore and the outer shell. This is very characteristic to the egg of Hymenolepiasis nana. And the name Hymenolepiasis nana came from the character of the outer shell. It is a thin transparent shell, and so hymen means a thin transparent shell. Nana from the adult worm, as it is the smallest cystode can infect men. What about the larval stage? The larval stage is in a form of piriform or spherical or oval vesicle, enclosed inside an invaginated 1 scolex. This scolex will later on invaginated and develop to be the adult worm. This invaginated scolex is surrounded with a membranous and a narrow space between the invaginated scolex and the outer membrane. So this is the larval stage which is also present inside the male. The life cycle of Hymenolepiasis nana is a very simple life cycle. This is the only cystode that can complete its life cycle in 1 host. The adult worm is in the small intestine of man. Eggs, or in some time segments will be liberated and the eggs will be excreted or liberated from the segment itself. So eggs will pass with the stool, and such eggs may contaminate food, water, fruits, vegetables, whatsoever. And if it is re-ingested by man, it is a directly infected egg. So it can infect man once again. However, this is the type of external infection. What about auto-infection? Hymenolepiasis nana can carry on an external and internal auto-infection. You have already an idea about this terminology, external auto-infection and internal auto-infection. To summarize, external auto-infection means that the eggs will pass with the stool, contaminate the perianal area, and the person itself will infect himself by himself with his own eggs. So this is called external auto-infection. However, internal auto-infection means that the eggs, while it is inside the body, it will hatch and the oncosphere will penetrate the wall of intestine or the wall of the epithelial intestine, as we will discuss. In the internal auto-infection, the eggs inside the small intestine hatch, the oncosphere will invade the epithelial lining of the villi, provided with the hooks. Inside the villi, it will metamorphose, develop to form the cysticercoid larvae. All right. This cysticercoid larvae will be inside the villi for about from 4 to 7 days, and it will liberated again. The scolex will evaginated, attach itself to the wall of the intestine, and redeveloped to the adult stage, and so on and so on. All right. This is the internal auto-infection. However, there is another type of auto-infection which is called hyperinfection. Hyperinfection is the same as internal auto-infection, but more likely to occur in immunosuppressed individuals. So to summarize the mode of infection with Hymenolepiasis nana, the infective stage is the egg, the mature egg with its character. And I'll ask you what is the infective stage for Hymenolepiasis nana, you have to describe it. All right, you have to describe the features or the main character of the infective stage, and that is in all parasites. The mode of infection is the ingestion of eggs. Ingestion of eggs, as we said, with contaminated soil, food, or drinks. External auto-infection if the eggs pass with feces and the person ingests his own eggs, so it will re-enter through the fecal oral route. Or internal auto-infection, this means that the eggs penetrate the intestinal epithelia without need to go outside the body and develop to cysticercoid larvae. Hyperinfection, as we said, mean it is in immunosuppressed persons, and this will lead to a great severe infection.